Okay, hi everybody. We are in Parshas Re'eh in Deuteronomy chapter 11, we're going to start with verse 26. I'll read it in English and then we're going to deal with the first verse and then I'll say it in Hebrew. See, I present before you today a blessing and a curse. Re'eh, see, Anochi noten lifnechem, I am placing before you, Hayom, today, bracha uklala, a blessing and a curse. As we know, if we read this very carefully, we see that what happens later on, not very much later on, but in verse 29, there is a, not even called a dress rehearsal, but God is telling us that when we come into the land of Israel, that we are going to be standing on these two mountains and making blessings and curses and accepting them. And as you see in verse 30, it describes where this place is. And later we'll see much more to do about this, how it's choreographed, so to speak. Okay? So why does it say, first of all, I'm presenting to you today a blessing and a curse? I'm placing them before you when, in all truth, it doesn't happen for another approximately 3 months. We're 5 weeks before Moses dies. Moses dies and he's 33 days before Israel enters the land. So that is 5 weeks plus another 33 days. And then it's not for another few weeks before we stand at these mountains and present the blessing and curses and accept them. So that's going to be one of the major issues we're going to be dealing with. Why does it say today? But if we look deeply into the Hebrew, the word is re'eh. It's singular, see. It could have said ra'u or tira'u, that you should see, plural. Because the word lifnechem is plural. I place before you, plural, today. Okay? So anytime there is an anomaly where you have within the verse a singular and then a plural, we have to ask ourselves why, what is going on? And the truth is, this is a running theme. This is a running theme in Judaism. Anybody that wants to convert, after we get done reading this, you'll realize why it is that we're not looking for converts and why we make it somewhat difficult, meaning we really just want to see that the person is sincere. Because after you get finished internalizing and absorbing and swallowing these truths, you'll realize that it's a huge responsibility to be a Jew. And it has major ramifications of the world. In other words, you know about the butterfly effect? You know what that is? I don't know how true it is in science, but science claims that there is such a thing as the butterfly effect. And they must have gotten it from the quantum physics and the metaphysics of the Torah. Because if a butterfly on some island in the middle of the Pacific flaps its wings, of course there's no real noticeable effect of the wind, and yet that wind somehow may pick up and have an effect on some other storm system, and God forbid that one flap of a wing of a butterfly in the middle of the Pacific Ocean may have a major effect on a storm front in the Atlantic coast, and it could ravage a whole city with floods and tidal waves and a tsunami. So I know I'm only talking theoretical at the moment, but 1 second, we'll take a look. The Kliyakar says the word re'eh is kemedaber liyachid. It's as if it's speaking to an individual. Moses is speaking to the people in the name of God. We don't even see where God says normally v'yidaber Adonai Moshe lemor, that God speaks to Moses saying. So if the re'eh, see, is singular, as if it's speaking to an individual, what about the word lifnechem? Before you, I place before you. Before you is medaber l'rabim, as if Moses is speaking to the many, to the masses. So as I was saying, that you have a very famous verse that you find all through the first not the first book, but the second, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, God speaks to Moses saying that he should tell over. Book of Devarim, of Deuteronomy, is all of Moses speaking, and of course God agrees with every word as if it's coming directly from God himself. So see, each individual should see as if I'm placing before all of you. What does that mean? So we have a Gemara in Kedushin that explains. Ready for that? You have to put on your seatbelts for this. Leolam yedama lo'odam ki'ilu hayakol ha'olam machetze amachetze zuchuyot v'avanot. That each individual should look, imagine, perceive as if the whole entire world is sitting in a perfect balance between the amount of mitzvahs, the positive actions that we do, versus, God forbid, the sins, the avonot that we do. We're sitting in the perfect balance, and that's the whole world. So then he continues, and it says, Asa mitzvah achat. All you have to do is perform one particular mitzvah, just one, any one of the 613 mitzvahs. Hechriya et atzmo ve'et kol ha'olam lechaschut. That you will, by doing that one positive action, by doing the one mitzvah that connects you further to Hashem, you are then doing what? Your hachriya. The word hachriya is determining. You're causing the scales not to be balanced anymore, but to be, heavier on the mitzvah side. Right now, by doing that one mitzvah, you determine now the scales are not only for you, but the entire world. The entire world is balanced. You look at your own life as balanced, and you do that one more act of kindness or towards fixing the world, and guess what happens? The entire world turns to the side of merit. And therefore, what is really being said here is being told to each individual, Re'eh, you, I'm talking to you. You have to look at yourself, see, Sheyira be'ein sichli, look with your spiritual eye, your spiritual intellectual eye, that kikol ma'asav yachshu lifnechem lekulechem, that each action you do comes back, like the word karma, but we're not going to use that word. It gets recycled. It comes back. There's consequences to every action that you do, and it will affect everyone else. I mean, this is heavy stuff here. One action that you do, you Jew, you Israelite, you do one thing, and you know what's going to happen? It's going to affect the entire world. And this is, he says, that's why the whole idea is mentioned right here with the oath. It's going to take place at Har Grizim v'Har Ebal, meaning these are the mountains where this oath will be taken by the Jewish people. The oath of what? It's called the oath of Arvut. Arvut means collective responsibility. Collective responsibility. Okay? And what's going to happen? It says, the Hisker Inyan Zeba Parsha Zu Hamidaberet Bnei Inyan Har Grizim V'Har Eidel. Why? Why is it mentioned here, this idea of collective responsibility? Because there, at the mountains I should say, Kisham Na'asu Kol Yisrael Areidim Zeh Ba'ad Zeh. It was there at the mountain that it became a collective responsibility through an oath of Areidim Zeh Ba'ad Zeh, of collective responsibility, of being a guarantor one for the other. Every single Jew is responsible for every other Jew. Responsible in what way? Ready for this? It's like if you didn't have your seatbelt tightened now, you have to tighten it one more notch. Mitzad ha'arvus, rabim nitpasim ba'avon ha'yachid. From the aspect, on account of this collective responsibility, the masses, the rabim are the masses. They're nitpasim. That means they seize upon, they grasp, they grab, they absorb, they swallow up the sin of the individual. I mean, this is a heavy responsibility. I hope you understand now when I gave you that introduction what's happening here. This is, the Jewish people are a light to the nations. How we behave and how we treat each other are ultimately, hopefully, that the non-Jews, the nations will say, wow, this is a wise and holy nation and we want to follow in their footsteps. And they treat each other. They treat their own neighbors, their own city dwellers as brothers, as a Jewish nation treats each other as brothers. Capish? I hope you understand the severity and the responsibility of conversion. Okay. So now we turn the page and it mentions the word hayom, right? We saw, see, I present before you today blessing and curse. So the Kli Yakar begins by telling us, Af al pi, even though, shezman kavua lekabalat shavua, that only it's going to be in the future. There's a set time, and it's not today. It's telling us the word today. Why? Because even though there will be, and there is, a set time for that Shavua to take place, as I mentioned, look in verse 29, it shall be when Hashem your God brings you to the land that you come to possess it, then you shall deliver the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Abel. In Hebrew, where is it? Here it is. V'hoya ki yeliyecha. It will be when you come, when Hashem brings you, Hashem Elokecha, El Haaretz, to the land, Asher ata bo shama lirishta, which you're coming to there to possess, to conquer. V'natata et habracha. There God will give you, right? There's going to be the bracha and the klala on these mountains. Now, again, why today? Why do you need the concept today? Let me ask you a question. There have been many people who made oaths and only later come to regret them. And they would say, if I would have thought about it a little bit longer, I would have never made that oath. How about people who make confessions, right? The police nab them, they pressure them, maybe rightfully so in most cases, a lot of cases. But sometimes it's unjustifiable. And there's a tremendous pressure for the person to make a confession. How many confessions have fallen apart because of police brutality or undue pressure? And of course, later in court, the judge or the jury or somebody proves that there was undue pressure and the confession is null and void. So here we see this idea that when a court... Okay, let's not jump ahead. Let me just tell you, when a Jewish court tells a litigant to take an oath, they don't want to put undue pressure. Why? Let's see. He says the reason, it says today, because shemei hayom ad oto zman yesh lechem shehut lihimalech, that from today onward until that day arrives where they're standing on the mountain, there will be enough time for them to change their mind, to really come to a solid conclusion whether or not they want to take this responsibility. I think also that could be a justification for why the conversion process takes as long as it does. Obviously, in Israel, it takes a lot shorter because it's very intensive. But outside the land of Israel, a true proper conversion could take a few years. But in Israel, it's less than a year. It could be 9 or 10 months. In order they don't say, Anusim hayinu, we were forced. There's no such thing in Judaism as a forced conversion. We're not interested. The other religions that are empty and void of any meaning, of course, very, very likely in the past, they've had said, with the sword to your neck, convert or die. I mean, obviously, it's looked down upon, and many of the religions will do anything to entice you to convert, and we'd be very happy to convert you the same day. But nevertheless, it says that in order that the Jewish people making this oath of collective responsibility don't turn around and say, we were forced. Keder kol shavua shenotnim zman pen yinachem ha'ish. Anytime an oath would be administered by the court, they allow enough time for the person to make a decision, lest they regret. Kach natan lehem zman, so they give them enough time. Shelo yomru, so they don't say, hamamamam ve'irvavam, we were confused, we were all mixed up, meaning we were pressured, we were forced. No. And then they would end up saying after that is, ilu hayalehem shaul himalek lo hayu osim, that if we were only given enough time, we never would have taken this responsibility. We would never have taken this oath. Who in the world wants to take an oath where they become responsible for someone else's sins? Does that make any sense to you? That's kind of like, it's crazy. Okay, so that's the first, let's say it's the first level of understanding what Hayom means. Because it certainly sounds out of context. What in the world did you need the word Hayom? I present before you a blessing and a curse. And go on. Why today? So that's one reason. Another reason for today. That the word Hayom, what does it hint to? If I say to you something is happening today, does it mean it's happening at 8 o'clock at night? Does it mean it's happening at 3 o'clock in the morning? Could it be at 12 in the afternoon? What is today? Today could be a 24-hour period, correct? Today, over a 24-hour period. Or does it mean during daylight, such as the word Hayom actually could symbolize the sun? I know this sounds like a stretch, but when we finish here, you're going to get a better idea of what it means. First of all, a blessing and a curse. What is the nature of a blessing and a curse? And why is the word Hayom placed next to those two words? See, in the English, I'm not sure it works like that. It does, actually. I set before you today a blessing and a curse. The word today didn't even have to be right there next to the words blessing and a curse. It could have said today I put before you a blessing and a curse. It could have said see today, right? In other words, after the word see. It could have said a blessing and a curse today. Anyway, it says Hayom brachu klala. The Hayom we are going to see is somehow the word itself could be replaced with the word sun. And when I say sun, I mean S-U-N. The thing in the sky that's bright yellow, maybe, if that's what the color is. He says it's a remez el galgal hayomi. It's a hint, it hints to that ball in the sky, or perhaps the, let's say like this, the orbit of the sun, from sunrise to sunset, because that could mean day. Day is from sunrise to sunset, or maybe a few minutes before, a few minutes after, from sunrise to sunset. But there's a proximity, there's a close proximity to the words bracha and the concept of bracha and klala. Bracha is blessing, klala is the curse. So what is the verse telling you? Okay, it's telling you that just as the sun, kamo hashemesh, just like the sun, shehu echad, we only have one sun in the sky, and it's poel shnei fachim, but it acts in two different ways. And I'm not even talking about the sun itself, I'm talking about the effect of the sun has two very distinct different effects. For example, he gives a few examples. Have you ever left a candle on your windowsill? And I'm talking about not the window in the backyard by the shady tree. I'm talking about the window you always close the drapes because you get that sun. If you left a candle on your windowsill and you came back later in the day, that candle would go like this down to like this. You'd be like, I don't know how much money you paid for such a beautiful candle, but you'd be a little disappointed. You didn't even get to benefit from it. It's already, you know. So what can the sun do to something hard like wax? The sun can melt something hard. It can soften something hard. What about an egg? Before you crack the egg, you bought it from the store. You know that every egg you've ever opened, you've never bought a hard-boiled egg. You bought a raw egg. But if you take that egg and put it on the roof of your car maybe not in Washington State, but let's say in Arizona, you put, maybe in Aqaba, you take that egg and put it in the sun for a couple of hours, I guarantee you it ain't a soft boil, it's not soft anymore. It could be hard boiled. I shouldn't say boiled, hard baked. It's a hard egg. So the same sun can take wax that is hard and make it soft, and it can also take an egg which is soft and make it hard. And on the other hand, what about, try to imagine the old days when we used to do our laundry, right? We used to go down to the river, and we walked a few miles, we went to the river, or maybe to your backyard, and you were scrubbing that laundry, you were scrubbing the garment. I don't know how they did it, with their nails, with their knuckles. Maybe they had an instrument. But what happens to your face? Your face turns a little bit darker. You get a nice tan from sitting out there for the few hours. So the sun will cause something that's light to become darker. And what will happen to the laundry when you leave it out in the middle of the summer for more time than is necessary? Today, the dyes that we have in our clothes are much better than they used to be. So it might not fade right away, but the sun has an effect on the cloth, on the dye. It has a bleaching effect. It has a whitening effect. So something that is dark by the same sun become white, and something that is white can become darker. It's the same sun, but it's having very different effects. So he says like this. I'll just say in Hebrew. It's mati chashava, it melts the wax, umachpi habetza, but it can harden the egg. Mashcher panav hakoves, it can darken the face of the launderer, umalbin habeged, but whiten the cloth. Kol hashinoyim halalu, and all these changes, let me ask you, why are they taking place? It's the same sun. It's because of the molecular structure, the makeup of the thing on the receiving end. Capiche? Capiche. It's on the receiving end. That's where the change, that's the cause of the change. The kol hashinim halalu ain't boy mitzad hashemesh, not coming because of the sun, of course they are, but rather because of from the aspect of the kablim, that which is on the receiving end. Kacha brachos v'kolos. This is exactly how the blessings and curses in our lives work as well. Haboyim ito yizbrach eina mechayim shinoi bo yizbrach. They're not coming from it's not coming because of any change in God. God does not change. Look at, and I have to open up my source sheet, I believe it's the first source. We finally arrived to the source sheet. Malachi 3:6. For I, the Lord, have not changed. Ki ani Hashem lo shiniti. God doesn't change. So how do you have a blessing and a curse coming from God? Ella, but rather the shinoi, the change, but rather the change is coming from the aspect of the mekablim, from the thing on the receiving side. And we have another verse in Eicha, that's Lamentations 3, verse 38, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Mipi elyon, from the mouth of God, from the mouth of the Most High. Lo teitze haraos v'hatov. From God you have neither good nor bad coming from. I mean, that's right. You see it. It's black and white. So we think of curses and blessings as good and bad, right? Curses are bad and blessings are good. And they're coming from God. This verse says, from the mouth of the Almighty will not come forth neither good nor bad. Neither bad nor good. So what is the nature of this blessing and the curse? First of all, so far he says that's another reason why it says Hayom. He's focusing on the word Hayom because it has to do with the sun. Now that he proved it has to do with the sun, he's going to prove it even further. Davar Acher. We find in Gemara Nedarim, Chet Amid Bet, that's page 8b. Guess what? It says that there is no Gehenna. It would be nice if I just stopped there. It doesn't say there's no Gehenna. It says that there is no Gehenna in the future, but what's really going to happen? Meaning there really isn't Gehenna. What do we call hell? That Hashem, that God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy and Blessed be He brings out the sun from its sheath. Somehow the full heat of the sun is being protected. We're being protected from the full force of the sun's power. But in the future, what we're going to call hell is when the sun will be unleashed. Now, what does the Gemara use to prove this? 2 verses. I have to find them here. This would be number 3 on the sheet. In Malachi, it makes sense that it says, "For lo, the sun comes glowing like a furnace." But I want you to know, it doesn't say the sun comes. Let's just read it in English. "For lo, the sun comes glowing like a furnace, and all the audacious sinners, the willful sinners, and all the perpetrators of wickedness will burn up." They'll be like straw, and the sun that comes shall burn them up. So the truth is, the first time the sun is mentioned in Hebrew, it doesn't say sun. It says, "Behold, the day is coming." The word day. You see it? It's the day that is coming, and it's translated as the sun, because that's what it means. That the sun is coming during the day. It's glowing like a furnace. What is? The sun. But it doesn't say sun until later on the verse. And all the Zadim, all the willful sinners, and all who do evil will be like kash. Kash is stubble. Kash is straw. V'lo heit otam hayom haba. Again, the word, it doesn't even use the word shemesh here either. It says in English, and the sun comes, burn them up. It's the day that comes. The day itself is burning them up. Now, if that's true by the sun, even though it doesn't say sun, it's going to be the day. It's going to burn them up. Look in the next verse. We're not talking about a different chapter. We're not talking about a different prophet. We're talking about 3:19 in Malachi and then 3:20. And the word shemesh does appear in the Hebrew. V'zarcha lechem yirei shemi shemesh tzedakah u'marpei kanafeha. The Son of Mercy, shemesh tzedakah. The Son of Mercy will rise with healing. Marpe kanafeha. It'll heal all those wings for whom? Those who are Yirei Shemi, who fear my name. And the first word of the verse is Zarcha, shall shine. So the Son of Mercy shall shine with healing in its wings for those who fear my name. And of course, it's like a bracha here. Then you will go forth and be as fatted calves. Now, it's the same verse, right? 3:19 and 3:20. And it uses we're talking about the same sun, the same S-U-N. And I'm going to call it the Son of Righteousness. Here, it's the Son of Mercy. The Son of Mercy, the Son of Righteousness. We're talking about the S-U-N in the sky. The Shemesh will have an effect on the evil people. We call that a curse. It's the same sun that will have healing powers, that will somehow heal those who are righteous and give such abundance blessings. So what do we see? I hate to tell you, it sounds like, I don't hate to tell you, but that we create our own destiny. We create our own heaven and hell. Your actions, and it's not just for you, it's for the world. You can save the world. The world is resting on your shoulders, just like it's resting on mine. That's what the Torah is teaching us. But we're not through yet. So it continues on and says, this is what it means, Hayom Bracha Klala. It's the sun, it's the day, it's this concept that's going to happen in the future when Hashem unleashes the sun from its guard, and that day will be the time for the bracha and the klala. Yes, we will find blessings and curses in this world. We'll call them the dividends. We're not going to go into how one can receive the dividends right now, but the main reward and punishment is in the world to come. You believe me? Don't trust me? Let's go to the Tanakh. Let's go right to the source. It's the Gilgal Hayomi Timshach Bracha and Klala. It's from the orbit of the sun. It's from the orbit of the sun that will create and will bring forth the Bracha and Klala. Because we know, it says in Kedushin, there is no reward in this world. Ki b'hai alma, in this world, schar mitzvah leka. There is no reward. Where are we going to get the reward? Listen to this. If you go back to where these mountains are located, look in, I think it's 30. Are they not on the other side of the Jordan? Remember, we're standing on the east, like a few of our friends are right now. They're on the other side of the Jordan, but in other words, we are standing presently on the eastern side. We call it the east bank of the Jordan, looking towards the west, far in the direction of the sunset. Where does the sun set? In the west. In the land of the Canaanite, that's land of Canaan, that dwells in the plain, far from Gilgal, near the plains of Moreh. Okay, it's a rhetorical question, but that's where it is. Now, when you are selling land, right, it's just transparent. You have to tell the prospective buyer, this is my field. It goes as far as the tree line over there. It goes as far as the base of the mountain over there. It goes as far as the fence over here. You have to be very honest, right? You're selling a piece of property. You have to have delineations. You have to have clear borders, what they're buying, as to not, we call Gilgal Gezel Hadat. You're not allowed to steal people's minds and trick them. Okay, so when you're selling a piece of property, obviously you have to have clear delineations of where the property begins and ends. So what does it say? It says as far as in the direction of the sunset. That just means west. My wife, she's Jamaican, she tells me when someone dies, they use the expression, they went west. I know in the in the restaurant business, they say 86 it. But also, you can say it went west. It's gone. It's forever gone, right? The sun sets and it's forever gone. What do we understand? There is no reward in this world. There's only reward after the sun of the person has set. And that's what the verse means here. As he very nicely and poetically says, the ulechach natan siman, because there's no reward in this world, he's actually giving, in verse 30, a sign. It's achrei derech mavo hashemesh, after the setting of the sun. Pasuk zeh natan simanim umetzarim yoter min hamoiches sedeyu. This is giving even better definitions, better than a person who's trying to sell a field. When it says the way or the direction of the setting of the sun, what do I need that for? Everything else is very clear, right? As I mentioned, it says it's on the other side of the Jordan. It's going to be in the land of the Canaanite that dwells in the plain, far from Gilgal, near the plains of Moreh. It's exactly where Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim are. But in direction, as far as the sun, in the direction the sun sets, it's west. That's not a real demarcation mark. So the Kliyakar says, Lama li, why do I have such a statement? Ela shabola ramos. It comes to hint, she'ikar kabbalas aschar, that the prime place of receiving reward and punishment, schar va'onesh, is through the setting of the sun. Meaning, after one has passed from this world. Okay, I'm going to